Also, in a manner of speaking, the Boston Celtics lost one Sunday. Reggie Lewis is out of the playoffs after a panel of doctors found, quote, cardiac abnormalities had contributed to his fainting during the playoff opener on Thursday. Lewis slowly collapsed to the court at Boston Garden in a scene chillingly similar to the tragedy that took the life of Hank Gathers at Loyola Marymount 3 years ago. But he quickly came to, and doctors say it will be several weeks before they know how serious Lewis's heart problem is and whether or not it threatens his career or his life. His teammates say they will not use this, though, as the old cliched motivational force.
We wish the best for Reggie, but, we don't need to, use that as a springboard to the game on Monday.
It puts basketball in its place. It really clarifies that this just is a game. And our first and foremost thoughts are with Reggie and Donna and their baby. And, we don't care about Reggie, the basketball player, right now. We want Reggie to get well.
The Celtics without captain Reggie Lewis and the Hornets play Game 3 Monday night in Charlotte. The series is tied 1-1. Dan?
He'll ever play again.
A team of doctors has determined that Lewis suffers from a heart ailment. But tonight, the Celtic captain is seeking a second opinion. It was Friday night at Boston Garden when Lewis collapsed as he ran down the court in the first game of the NBA playoffs against the Charlotte Hornets. He tried to get back into the game, but never played more than a few minutes. Later Thursday night, he headed to the hospital. Bob Lobel is here now to pick up the story on the diagnosis and Reggie's reaction to it. Bobby?
All right, Elizabeth, thank you very much. Well, here's the way it all worked out. Friday morning, Reggie Lewis checked into New England Baptist Hospital. A team of 12 of the most respected cardiologists in Boston began tests on the Celtics captain. Those tests revealed a very serious heart condition known as cardiomyopathy, which is a disease of the heart muscle that causes a serious cardiac arrhythmia, which is an irregular heartbeat. Lewis, though, wants another opinion, and late last night, he checked himself out of New England Baptist Hospital and checked himself into Brigham and Women's Hospital. His condition became apparent Thursday night in Game 1 against Charlotte when Lewis lost consciousness and fell to the floor while running up court. The next day, he checked into the hospital and underwent a battery of tests that revealed the serious heart condition. This is the same heart condition that killed former Loyola Marymount star Hank Gathers. In a game 3 years ago, Gathers collapsed and died on the court. Team physician Dr. Arnold Scheller spoke with me today about Lewis, and he headed the team who examined him and told me he was surprised when Lewis changed hospitals considering the seriousness of his condition.
The one thing I'm worried about is you got an arrhythmia here. This is something you got to take serious. This is something you can die from. This is the same thing that Gathers had. He understood it. He acknowledged that he heard me. Again, when you're faced with a potential loss of your career and a major medical problem like that, people react differently. I mean, I'm very supportive of Reggie. I mean, I'm going to be supportive, and I'm sure I speak for the entire Celtics organization. We want to see this whole thing come out the best of all possible circumstances.
Brigham and Women's Hospital released a statement this afternoon saying that Lewis is undergoing tests and will take the next several days to complete those tests. The statement says that Reggie is resting comfortably and is in good spirits. Obviously, a shock to the Celtics family. Tonight, we're 2 hours away from the critical third game against the Hornets, but Lewis's situation is certainly on the players' minds. Scott Wally joins us live now from Charlotte with that story. Scott?
Okay, Bob, thanks very much. It's going to be a wild night here at the Coliseum. I can guarantee you that. This is one of those basketball in the 90s kind of arenas, complete with all the music and the lights and the dancers and the cheerleaders and even Hugo the mascot, who found his way complete with costume into the media guide of the Charlotte Hornets. The town is absolutely wild over this team. They packed this place for all the meaningless regular season games, and they're going to be here tonight for the first ever playoff game in the history of this franchise. And all of this, of course, is in direct contrast to the mood of the Boston Celtics, who come here to do a job tonight in Game 3, but Reggie Lewis will never be far from their minds.
It definitely puts things in perspective in life in general, and our thoughts and prayers are with Reggie and Donna and baby, and hopefully things will work out for them. But as you said, we have to prepare ourselves, and it's my job to try to keep this team focused with the task at hand. That's trying to take care of the Hornets tonight.
This is such a unique and different and strange and scary injury to your heart. Usually I'm talking about guys' knees, ankles, backs, elbows, wrists. Now you're talking about someone's heart, and let's face it, none of us know what's going on with that. I mean, none of us are cardiologists, and I have no idea. I just hope that Reggie feels comfortable and better, and that everything works out for him.
We care about Reggie. as a person and not as a basketball player right now, because his health is more important.
I believe the Celtics will come out and respond and play a good basketball game tonight despite the circumstances, but the deck is stacked against them. The Hornets are confident after winning one in Boston. It's Game 3, our place, as the Charlotte Observer. Everybody's in this together here in Charlotte, apparently, as they play Game 3 tonight at the Coliseum. And we'll be back in sports to tell you more about it. For now, Scott Wally live in Charlotte. Back to Bob.
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Liz?
A lot of talk about Reggie abruptly leaving one hospital, going to Brigham and Women's. Do you know why he made that decision?
Well, from our understanding, I think Reggie and his wife were quite upset that they were not in the loop with the other 12 cardiologists in their meeting with the Celtics. I think they were mad at the Celtics, and I think that this was their reaction, their knee-jerk reaction to get out of New England Baptist and over to Brigham and Williams. I mean, New England Baptist is primarily an orthopedic hospital. Brigham and Williams is a cardiologist, much more oriented that way, but I think it was their anger of not being part of the loop and part of the decision-making process and being actually told either Friday night or Saturday, when everybody knew except Reggie and his wife and the media and the public what his condition was, that that's why they made the move.
Frightening situation to be in, and so we can't second-guess people for making those decisions, but the Celtics doctors now are not in this loop at all.
They are out of the loop. It is totally up to Reggie. Dr. Scheller asked him that very question. Are you in the loop? He said, no, it's up to Reggie. If he wants to be brought back in, yes or no. Reggie has his own doctor at Brigham and Williams, Dr. Mudge, as a matter of fact.
Oh, we wish him the best, certainly. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
First consultant on Lewis's case, Dr. Mark Josephson. Tonight, health reporter Lauren Scott tells us what the heart specialist knows about Lewis's condition.
Cardiomyopathy is a generic term that's used to describe any primary muscle problem with the heart.
A muscle problem that Reggie Lewis didn't know he had until this weekend. The condition is rare. Some people are born with cardiomyopathy, and others develop it later in life. The most common causes a virus that attacks the heart, or possibly a vitamin deficiency that weakens the heart. One of the doctors who worked on Reggie's case says the one thing physicians are sure of is that cardiomyopathy can be deadly.
Patients with cardiomyopathies are very prone to develop rapid heart rhythms, and in fact, anywhere from 30 to 60% of people with cardiomyopathies, depending on the stage of the cardiomyopathy, may die of a rapid arrhythmia.
The medical definition of cardiomyopathy is, quote, any disease of the heart muscle that causes a reduction in the force of the illustrates cardiomyopathy causes a thickening of the heart walls that separate the different chambers. This thickening is ultimately responsible for causing irregular heartbeats.
Reggie, wow. He is Reggie really wants to teach the kid a lesson.
As Lewis's case illustrates, many people go for years with no symptoms. It is often strenuous exercise that makes the problem noticeable.
The diseased heart can't meet the demands of the body. It doesn't accept the blood, and it doesn't pump out enough blood.
If you recall, about how the Celtics seem to avoid the bad luck that a lot of the Boston teams get, the Red Sox curse of the Bambino, and the Patriots bad luck from the word go. And now it seems, you look back in the last few years, the Celtics have not really dodged it.
Starting with Lenny Baez situation,
Larry Bird having to get out early.
Yep, and now Reggie Lewis. Celtics, though, are in Charlotte tonight. They take on the Hornets. This is their first of their 2 games in North Carolina with the best-of-5 series, even right now at a game apiece. They'll play it, though, without Reggie Lewis. Reggie has been diagnosed with focal cardiomyopathy. That's a condition that damages a heart tissue, causes irregular heartbeat, and has very complicated implications. It happened last Thursday in the game. Reggie was coming up court following an offensive rebound, and as he started down his wing, he just seemed to stumble and then collapse on the court. Momentarily blacked out, then he complained he was dizzy. He returned to the game later, but just for a few minutes. Naturally, his teammates are concerned about his condition.
Our first and foremost thoughts are with Reggie and Donna and their baby, and we don't care about Reggie, the basketball player, right now. We want Reggie to get well, and that takes however long it takes. That's what we want.
It really puts everything in perspective. You sit back, you have a chance to think about certain things, and the really big things are obviously family, your health. You kind of take for granted when you are healthy and you're playing, and you're going from game to game. tough situation, but everyone hopes that he gets through it okay.
Last night, Reggie changed hospitals as the medical tests continue. However, he is out for the season.
Could have cost Reggie Lewis his life when he returned to action before undergoing 4 days of cardiac evaluation that found a ventricle tachycardia condition, a life-threatening arrhythmia.
You got an arrhythmia here. This is something you got to take serious. This is something you can die from. This is the same thing that Gathers had.
Hank Gathers collapsed and died on a college basketball court 3 years ago, never getting a chance to correct or treat his condition. But Dr. Scheller and his team of 12 noted specialists are no longer handling Reggie's case. Lewis checked himself out of New England Baptist and into Brigham and Women's at 11:30 last night. A move that Dr. Scheller feels was prompted by some predictable emotions by Reggie and his wife.
They're clearly in the anger and the denial stage right now, and I think that probably interfaced with their decision to switch hospitals last night.
It's certainly natural to feel sorry for Reggie while bemoaning his bad luck. But all things considered, Reggie is very fortunate his condition wasn't discovered in the usual manner, with cardiac arrest.
He dodged a bullet.
Something Dr. Scheller may have done himself. So just when this basketball team was really adjusting to life without Larry, they're dealt another blow. And for that part of the story, we rejoin Gene Levanti live in Charlotte with Game 3, less than 2 hours away. Gene, it's all yours.
All right, John, thank you very much. It would be completely unrealistic and unfair, really, to expect the Celtics to completely put Reggie Lewis out of their minds as they prepare to face the Charlotte Hornets in Game 3 of their playoff series here tonight. Reggie certainly will be in their thoughts, but the Celtics know that they'll have to put the situation on the back burner at least for a few hours and come out on this court and play some basketball. The condition of Reggie Lewis hangs heavy in the air, and it's put everything, especially basketball, in its proper place.
And in situations like this, a lot of times, basketball really gets, you put it in proper perspective. You kind of go like, and I've had this perspective for a long time, but it's like, it's worth a lot, but it's not worth people's health.
Although everyone's thoughts will continue to be with Reggie Lewis, the cold, hard fact of the matter is the Boston Celtics still have to play a basketball game tonight.
We've been able to recover throughout the season with various problems. This is a little bit more serious nature, but we're professionals, and the game goes on. Unfortunately, they're not postponing the game. The game has to be played, and we have to go out there and try to do the best we can.
That may be easier said than done, especially when you consider that the Celtics will be in the middle of a teal-colored hornet's nest.
It's going to be real loud in here. 23,000 just screaming. We can't just relax and think that the fans are going to win this game for us. We know Boston's going to come out very aggressive and try to get their low post game going early, and we just got to come up and be ready for the task.
That energy transcends down to the other bench, too. There's so much energy in there, and it may be negative, but it's picking you up. They're screaming and yelling at you, and it's pumping you up. I think it pumps up the opposing team as much as it pumps up the home team.
Another key for the Celtics will be for them to revert to the success they had in Game 1, where everyone got into the act. The more guys who step it up, the better.
You miss your star player, the guy who you go to night in and night out for the big shots. But that means myself, Kevin McHale, and Sherman Douglas, D. Brown, everybody who's going to be playing just has to step their game up to another level.
It's also tough to win 2 games at home in a row, period. So we've got our work cut out, and we're looking just for Game 3 and, again, continue that success that we've had and see what happens.
Well, it's obvious that this is a very crucial game for the Boston Celtics tonight. They can ill afford a win-or-else situation in Game 4 come Wednesday. Of course, we'll all be watching to see how the team reacts to the Reggie Lewis situation on the floor. But as the players said, the game seems pretty meaningless, but still they have to find some way to go out and get the job done. Live from the Charlotte Coliseum, I'm Gene Levanti. Let's go back now to John Dennis.
Gene, on a number of occasions, we've seen the emotions of a moment raise a team up. The emotional level raise their game just a bit. The other side of that is they've lost their leading scorer. How do you think the Celtics will react?
I think it's going to be a very positive situation for them. They've been through a lot of adversity this year, as Chris Ford had mentioned in the piece that we showed you earlier. So I think it'll work to the Celtics' benefit. They have played without Reggie Lewis. They did so the other night, losing in double overtime. The only concern being, as we saw in the second overtime last game, Celtics couldn't find anyone to generate any offense to take over and bury the shot. If they get into that situation again tonight, they could face a similar fate. But if they can avoid going into overtime and take care of business during regulation, I think the Celtics might be in pretty good shape, and this situation might be able to work to their advantage.
Really scary, but I think Reggie knows too that the task at hand for this group right here is still a basketball game tonight. Our hearts and minds are with him, But yet we have a game to play tonight, and that's not a cold statement. That's the reality of the game.
Kevin McHale telling it like it is, as always. The truth is, the Celtics will need contributions from a lot of people tonight. Let's face it, their captain and go-to guy is not here, and Reggie Lewis is being missed tonight in more ways than one. Reporting live from Charlotte, Scott Wally. Now back to Bob Lobel. Bob?
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Nice job down there tonight. Celtics team physician Dr. Arnie Scheller has been at the center of Lewis's treatment and the decision to put him back into Thursday night's Game 1. I talked with Scheller today at Logan Airport just before he left for Charlotte.
Fair to say that he is lucky to be alive today?
He dodged a bullet. Yeah.
I guess everybody did in that case then.
Yeah, yeah.
Including physicians, team, everybody.
Well, you know, you go out and play the game, and you got to make your decisions as you see your medical data come in.
Lewis went down in the first half last Thursday night. No one at the time knew why. Dr. Scheller told me that he thought Lewis had been hit in the head, so he evaluated him on that basis and cleared him to play later in the game.